This is your 420 Radio News for Monday, July 15th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. Legal marijuana begs the question from growers, what about hash? From the New York Daily News. Substance abuse experts are concerned that such increasingly popular, extremely potent, and potentially dangerous pot extracts will be sold, and that state regulators' interpretation of the recreational marijuana law will allow people to buy vastly more hash than they need for personal use. That, they fear, will increase the chances that some of it will end up in the black market out of state. The legal weed law passed by voters last fall allows adults over 21 to possess up to an ounce of dried pot, 16 ounces of pot-infused solids, such as brownies, or 72 ounces of infused liquids, such as soda. When the state licensed stores open sometime early next year, that's how much people will be allowed to buy. The law precluded the sale of pure hash and hash oil, but didn't specifically address concentrated marijuana sales. That's led to a conversation about hash's place in the newly legal pot world. The regulators at the Washington Liquor Control Board, who are charged with overseeing the creation of the new legal pot industry, issued draft rules this month saying hash and hash oil can be used in marijuana-infused products, even if the product that's being infused is just a drop of olive oil or glycerin, for example. In effect, stores can get around the ban on hash or hash oil sales by simply adding a minuscule amount of some other substance to what is otherwise nearly pure THC, the primary high-inducing compound in cannabis. Quote, when we set the 72-ounce limit, we were thinking about marijuana juice or tea, not a high-potency extract like that, end quote, said Allison Holcomb, the Seattle lawyer who primarily drafted Washington's law. Holcomb said it will be up to state lawmakers to adopt new ceilings on marijuana concentrate sales early next year, sometime before the state licensed stores open for business. The legislature could also tweak the law to allow for sales of pure hash and hash oil, something hash makers would like to see. In Colorado, which also legalized recreational pot last fall, stores will be allowed to sell hash and hash oil. Marijuana seeds of discontent planted throughout Germany's parks by way of protest. From the New York Daily News. A German city is going to pot, literally, after cannabis activists sowed several pounds of marijuana seeds in its parks, planter boxes, and gardens. Göttingen has been hit by green-fingered pro-pot elves who are protesting against what they say is the national demonization of the drug. The group, which calls itself A Few Autonomous Flower Children, started laying its seeds of objection in June. Members claim their guerrilla gardening is against Germany's restrictive drug policies and say it's incomprehensible why cannabis, unlike alcohol, cannot be legally purchased. And they are now witnessing the fruits of their labor as the first marijuana plants start to bloom, reports Der Spiegel. Cops are now facing a running battle to keep the illegal plants from sprouting up, with some even appearing directly in front of the city's main police station. 7 News audit, 12 doctors write half the medical marijuana patient recommendations in Colorado, from the Denver Channel. Auditors say a dozen physicians have issued half of the medical marijuana recommendations in Colorado, and that the state is not providing enough oversight, so only qualified individuals get referral to use the drug. A report released Monday found that 12 physicians were responsible for 50% of the current 108,000 medical marijuana red cards as of March. Auditors say some doctors have also recommended what appear to be higher than reasonable amounts of the drug. One patient received a recommendation for 501 plants. Pot is now legal for everyone over 21 in Colorado, but the state still maintains a medical marijuana registry. Monday rally rolls out support for legalizing recreational marijuana use in Portland, from Bangor Daily News. Proponents of legalizing the recreational use of marijuana in Maine's largest city plan to rally support for their cause on Monday afternoon, just hours before the Portland City Council is scheduled to consider a petition on the issue. A coalition of groups, including the Portland Green Independent Committee, the American Civil Liberties Union of Maine, and the National Marijuana Policy Project, collected 2,508 certified signatures of registered Portland voters on a petition seeking to legalize possession of small amounts of pot in the city. The legalization ordinance proposed by the coalition would allow adults 21 and older to possess up to 2.5 ounces of marijuana within city limits, while prohibiting recreational use of the drug in public spaces, including school grounds and on public transportation. Red Hook announces hemp beer to celebrate cannabis legalization in Washington, from the Weed Blog. Red Hook Brewery, in collaboration with Hilliard's Beer, has announced today the release of a new beer called Joint Effort, brewed using hemp seeds, which is being released in celebration of cannabis being legalized in Washington state. It'll be available on draft starting today and will launch in 22-ounce bottles under the Blue Line label late in October. It will be sold exclusively in Washington state. This has been your 420 Radio News for Monday, July 15th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we go behind the headlines to take a look at prosecutions of dispensaries in Oregon that were just made legal under the new HB 3460. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.